On this week's episode of the Contact Center Muse, we're going to talk about three things: quality monitoring, how to benchmark and score calls, and how you can take that information back into your contact center to raise the level of quality. Hi guys, so today we want to talk about quality assurance and quality monitoring. We've had some followers over the last couple of weeks, send in some emails requesting what our thoughts or some tips on how we do quality assurance and how do we benchmark calls, set up our score sheet. So today I wanted to just kind of take you through a quick overview of our EQA unit, which is our Expivia quality assurance. So we're going to talk about three things that area encompasses, which is quality monitoring, benchmarking and scoring calls, and how we do then our ongoing training. So before I get into this form that you see in front of you, I wanted to just give you, I guess, some tips or some policies, procedures that we use in our QA area. The first question that we get, with this is, how many of these should you do? How many times should you score an associate a week? The industry average is about 3 scored calls per agent per week. It obviously depends on the size of your center, but we try to do 4 or 5, and that's with our supervisor and with our QA area. So we get a really good idea of the different types of calls that associates can handle, different times in different days of the week, so we can kind of really get a good idea of how an associate's doing. The other thing is we score live calls, so we don't score recorded calls. I know a lot of call centers score recorded calls. I think that's kind of lazy. We want to score live calls so we get a real time feel for what's going on in the contact center, and we can make real live changes to what's going on there before a 24, 48-hour period happens where maybe we're doing something wrong. So, I think live calls are really important to really enhancing the quality of your contact center. The other thing is we use a lot of management trainees and associates that are trying to become supervisors in our QA area. So not only is it a real good tool for enhancing the quality of our contact center, but it's also a management teaching tool to make sure that all of our management understand the concepts and understand where they need to be and what associates should be saying on the phone and how we can make sure that we recognize that. The last thing before I get into the form too is we want to make sure that these go directly to the floor. So whether we have a really good scored call, a poor call, all that needs to go out to the floor for instant feedback. So, whether we have a really good call, we want to celebrate that on the floor. Whether we need to do some training, we'll pull the associate off the floor, have them listen to the call, maybe even score the call themselves. But we want to make sure that anything that we need to correct or reward gets done instantly. So let's get into this form. We've moved a little bit beyond this form and this form setup as we've gone to more of, using speech analytics and some more advanced tools for our QA area. But I think that this is an awesome form for just starting. This is a form that you can create yourself through in just an Excel spreadsheet with some real basic formulas, so it doesn't have to be, look as pretty as this is, but this is a really good form to kind of get an idea of how to do this. So, just quickly with this, we have just some housekeeping stuff. You have your agent name, you have your in-contact ID. That's for us. We use in-contact, and we put the ID in here so that we can retrieve the recorded call at any time to play back for an associate or for training purposes. The call type, inbound, outbound, whether it's chat, emails, and then who's doing the scoring. So the first thing that I want to say before I get into how we break this down is nothing should be subjective in here. We find that you run into problems when you have a non-black and white type form, so where you can say, this question or this bullet point is offered willingness to assist, and you say, well, I think they kind of did, so instead of a 5, we're going to give a 3.5. That poses some problems, so we don't want to do any of that. We want everything to be black and white. Either you get the points or you don't. Either you did the job or you didn't. So that's a really important thing of having even rep buy into that, so that you don't have some of your scorekeepers that are super nice and soft and other people that are hard. You're going to have that anyway, but when you make it a little bit more subjective, it becomes a bigger issue. So this form is scored numerically. These, I believe, because we have some different forms depending on what client needs, add up to 100. And then what we do is we benchmark all of our calls. So we come to an agreement after listening and scoring a ton of calls. What is a good call? What is an exceptional call? What is a world-class call? And what is an unacceptable call? So, theoretically, let's just hypothetically say for this, a 90% is a good call, a 95 is a great call, and 100 is a world-class call. Anything under a good call, I think, is unacceptable. So there should not be average, because average is unacceptable. So we're looking for 90s and above. If there's anything 90 or below, we're going to make some adjustments instantly on the call center floor. So setting up your form, you want to take the average call that you get in a specific skill or queue. So maybe you have three skills. You have a sales queue, a customer service, and let's say a retention skill, all coming in through your IVR. Take the average type of call that comes into each of those skills. Don't use one for all of them. Break down into the different bullet points or the different pieces of the call. So for this customer, we had a specific greeting that we wanted all of our associates to handle. We wanted their tone to be a certain way. They needed then to have specific product knowledge that happens. And then what I think is the most important piece is the communication, or how we're talking to the customer, right? So we're not distracted. We have call control. We're engaging. We're delighting the customer. All those things can be scored within this. So making sure that all those things happen. And then, there's kind of a working piece to this with this customer. There was a retention and a sales piece. So we had to make sure that our associates were selling the proper way, not only selling and we're strong at it, but we're doing it the right way. And then we had a specific close and specific things that we had to talk to the customer about. So we want to make sure that all these are hit, throughout the call, and all of our associates are scored on this. They're trained on that as well. At the end as well, you can have specific things that must be in every single call, whether that's a disclosure, whether that's a specific type of greeting. If you have, sometimes a rep, maybe if they ditch a call, or if they're doing something that's inappropriate, we have automatic failures. And these are all 40-point minuses, right? So the best you could ever do on a call here would be a 60 if you had an automatic fail. These get sent directly to the floor, and we have a little bit more, strong training that goes with this. And you can't have a specific number of these in a month. If you do, then you're pulled off the program. And these are unacceptable. There's no doubt about it. These should never happen. If they do, strong action has to be taken. But, what we do, again, is we'll score these. We'll put comments down. If there is anything that is a 90 or below, for this example, the associate would be pulled off the floor, and we would just go over. We'd have them listen to the call, make sure that they're cleaning up some of the areas that they're struggling in, or that they didn't hit, or maybe just forgot. We will then take 20 minutes, let them take a couple more calls, and then we will go and score them again, making sure that they corrected those mistakes that they made. If you have somebody who has a 95 or 100, then that needs to be sent to the floor as well, and that's celebrated on the floor. So we train off the floor, we celebrate on the floor. And that kind of plays into the type of culture I think that you have as well. So you're not embarrassing anybody or showing anybody who's making mistakes, but if somebody's doing really well, you need this to be a positive thing for an associate too. This can't just be the stick for someone who does something wrong. It needs to be the carrot as well. So that's kind of a brief overview of how we do our QA, how we set up our forms. Again, you can get pretty advanced with this, from what we're using now with advanced speech analytics, with a lot of different voice of the customer tools. This is really evolved into a high-tech thing. But for the most part, this is just as effective. You can make sure that you set up your forms, make sure that you're following through, and then you have your ongoing training with your associates. So I hope that this helps you, improve the quality in your contact center. Thank you.